This song was written by the Beatles for my guest. He is the one and only Lord Jeffrey Archer. Good morning, Jeffrey. Nice to have you.
Good morning, Maurice.
Nice to have you on the line. Of course, raining in Spain today it is. May the rain in Spain stay mainly in England.
It's very unusual. Certainly in my home in Mallorca, where I write, it very rarely rains.
Well, Mallorca's the most beautiful place. I remember once doing a show down in Mallorca, and I got a phone call from my good friend, Mr. Peter Stringfellow. And he says to me, he says to me, I hope you're not trying to bring the riffraff from Marbella down to Mallorca. That was nice coming from him. But it is an exceptional place, Mallorca. And, I spent my very first holiday in Mallorca with my late mum and dad. We went to a place called Santa Ponza.
Oh, yes. Which is still very popular.
Well, there was nothing there when we went. There was only one apartment block.
No. Now it's very a proper place.
I think that's down to me, to be honest with you. Anyway, I read a lovely article about you in The Independent, which I enjoyed very much. A nice photograph. In fact, I like that photograph so much I put it up on our Facebook today, so that you're coming on. Right, what does it say here about you? You wrote of you, 50 Shades couldn't get past the first 30 pages. You said, Cameron, he should stick it to Clegg before he gets stuck himself. That was some of the headlines that was in the paper. First of all, let's go to that 50 Shades. Why? You know, my wife is an avid book reader and a very, very good reader of good books. But, of course, fascination brought her to 50 Shades. And she said it was probably the worst written novel that she's ever read.
It's been brilliantly successful, so there must be a strong storyline there, or something that women want to read. What I always say to people is, and no one can deny its massive success, and congratulations to E.L. James. But people say to me, do you want to do something like that, Jeffrey? And I say, no, look, I've now been writing for over 30 years. I stick to simple storytelling. Fads come and go, dinosaurs, erotica, these things come and go.
Wizards, remember the wizards.
Yes, they came and went, God bless the wizards, and they did brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly.
Absolutely.
But I always say to authors, do what you feel safe with, do what you feel you know about, because the public and the reader will know straight away that that's the case.
We're going to talk about your book, Best Kept Secret, and congratulations on yet another runaway bestseller. There's no two ways. We won't even argue about that. But there's no need to argue, because it will be. The reason it will be, because you've got a huge following of readers, including my dear wife, because you are a great storyteller. There's no need to me to tell you that, of course. Now, before we get on to that, let's talk about some political stuff that's going on at the moment. Do you fancy Boris for Prime Minister?
I think he could have a very good chance of becoming leader of the opposition. You only find out if someone's capable of being Prime Minister when they get the job. He keeps saying he doesn't want it, which is usually a sign, if you follow American politics, that he does want it.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think he'd be a great guy. I remember once calling Boris on, would he do an interview with me, and he told me he was out in a field with some cows, and he just walked into a patch and called him back and never gone. But Stanley, his father, comes on quite a lot with me. He's quite a character as well. Yes,
of course, he wanted to enter the House of Commons. He's always been interested in politics, and I think he delights, quite rightly, in the success of his son.
Now, you locked yourself, I think the last time we spoke, I think it was, you go on what you call locking yourself away. When you lock yourself away in Mallorca, and you write, you were very, very strict, aren't you, on your timing and the amount of time that you spend writing daily.
Yes, I rise about 5:30, work from 6 until 8, take a 2-hour break, work from 10 until 12, take a 2-hour break, work from 6 until 8 in the evening. So I do 8 hours a day, 4 sets of 2 hours. Get to bed about 10 o'clock, up again at 5:30 the next morning. The first draft, as I call it, probably takes about 45 days, about 400 hours. Now I'm in a break period now, and I go back to Mallorca on Thursday when I start the next draft, and that'll be a 26-day period.
Tell me, what happens if it doesn't come into your head? I mean, you do this very strict, and we've spoken of this many times. But what happens if you sit down? Do you write longhand? Do you write typewriter, or do you write?
I handwrite every word, and so far, although I rarely know more than 5 pages ahead, so far that's never happened, Maurice. And what they comically call writer's block, and indeed I've called my home in Mallorca writer's block. But so far it hasn't happened. But I'm very privileged and very lucky. I am, as your wife says, a storyteller. And it just comes.
It's interesting that, but one thing that, with modern technology, I know, for example, that when a painter, for example, and with modern technology, you can paint quite easily on the computer. We can do it, and a beautiful job, you can do it.
He does it all the time.
Yeah, you can do it, exactly. But an artist will never, ever use that technology. He likes to have the hand, I think, controlling the brush to paper, or to canvas in that case. My good friend Freddie Forsyth will only use his old typewriter. He feels the keys putting his stuff on paper. And you write, I can understand that. It's the connection between your hand, your brain, and the paper.
Yeah.
I understand.
Well, Freddie's also old-fashioned and rather loves his old typewriter, and with the results he's had, he should stick with it.
Absolutely. Well, I've told him, Freddie, I said, when you go to the big stage in the sky, you couldn't please leave that typewriter to me. I'm sure that typewriter's going to be worth a few bob. Best kept secret. It did say in that newspaper earlier, I read that there was some scenes that echoed your past there. Is that generally, because you do say as a storyteller...
I think the Clifton Chronicles, which are 5 books in a row, taking the life of Harry Clifton, a boy born in the back streets of Bristol, who is the son of a docker and wins a place at Bristol Grammar School because he has a beautiful singing voice, then goes on to Oxford, and he meets Emma Barrington, the daughter of the man who owns the docks, and they fall in love. I think it's very autobiographical. I mean, Harry is a man who, after Oxford, goes on to become a writer, and he falls in love with Emma, who's a very strong, very clever woman, which must be my wife.
Absolutely.
My mother's in there. She's Maisie, and there's a lot of one of my best friends in Giles. So, yes, I would say it was very autobiographical.
It's interesting that you obviously, as a writer, you've got to be influenced with one's own life. And I'm talking about you generally. I think generally writers must be influenced by something in their life to write.
I think it's very important, and I always say to young writers, for heaven's sake, write about what you know about. Write about where you come from, the people you bump into, and then the reader will know that it has a feeling of truth and verisimilitude. And if you don't do that, and you start saying, I've got to do ghost books, I've got to do dinosaurs, I've got to do erotica, it won't succeed.
Now, let's just talk. I'm going to go off subject, off Best Kept Secret for a second, because also in that article it did say you've slowed down a bit. I can't believe that for 1 second that you've...
Yeah, they suggest that.
I know, absolutely. I said, that's my old mate. You can't slow down. Charity-wise, I continue to tell the story that everything I've learned from auctioneering, I've learned from you by watching you and observing you. And your successes, I think it's in the region of about £15 million, something.
In the last 10 years, yeah, 15 million.
15 million. I don't think there's any one man in UK or one woman in UK could stand up and get anywhere near that. Are you continuing in that? Are you slowing down a bit?
No, I'm not slowing down at all. In fact, I had an auction last week. The big period for me for auctions, of course, is October, November, December, when all the big Christmas charity events are on, and I looking at my diary again, I'm booked up and having to turn people down all the time. So absolutely not. I'm flat out. Last year we raised $3.3 million for different charities, and I always try to beat the year before.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, we've never had you down here. Have you ever been to Marbella?
Nope, never been to Marbella.
I must
have talked to you over 20 years, and I've never been to Marbella. How long have you had the program, Maurice?
25 years.
I not mean the relaunch program back in the good old days.
25 years. And
25 years.
You should have said, I'm still waiting for that ticket, Maurice. You promised 25 years ago, so I won't be getting down there till you send the ticket over. Finally, just go on, not finally, but almost finally, because I know you're going out, or you know you've got an next appointment lined up. India. Now, interesting, because when I phoned Alison, she said that last week you were in India, so I started researching a little bit about Jeffrey Arch in India. You're a bit like One Direction or Donny Osmond or Cliff Richard or whatever, but you're a star in India to the point of frenzy.
Books in India. I did 5 meetings, but the one that shook me most was Bangalore, about 1,500, of which I would say 80% were women, and I would say 80% of that 80% were under the age of 20.
Oh, my goodness.
So they do treat writers like pop stars. They care about writing. And, of course, it's a strange experience for me to walk into a room because if it was in England or America or Australia, there'd be an audience of 500 or 600, and they'd be middle-aged. So to go into a screaming crowd of teenagers is very strange for an author.
I think it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And of course, reading is a way. It's a much affordable way for a lot of Indians, and there's billions of them out there.
They say to me, whereas 2.3 people read a book in America and 2.4 people read a book in Britain, 20 people will read a book in India. They pass it around the family, they pass it around the village. The Times of India wrote that 50 million people had read Cain and Abel, and I said, if you look at my bank balance, that's not possible. And they said, oh, yes, it is, because it's not unusual for a book to be read by 20 people, and what is more, they pirate it. As soon as it comes out, they reproduce it. They're a very enterprising race. It's on the streets for sale at a quarter of the price a few days later.
That's not fair. I think we'll have to sort that one out. Just popping back into politics there, UKIP. Now, I'm not English. You probably know that. Of course, I'm an Irishman, and of course, English politics. An Irishman, true and true.
Senegal, you've called me in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, you certainly have been. And, of course, proud of your Queen, I must say. What a wonderful PR trip she made to Southern Ireland. They adore her there now, and she was absolutely
brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. And I don't know if you watched the programme the other night on the royal family on ITV. It was fantastic. On the Queen. It was concentrated on the Queen. It was absolutely brilliant.
And they very kindly showed my flat with my sign on it, I was told. I didn't see it because I was in India.
Oh, did they, your flat with the sign?
The big sign saying, well done, Mom. But you've still got to do 62 years and 3 months before you break the record.
They did. They absolutely did. Now, may I ask you, you love by-elections. You're renowned. You loved it when you...
Prime Minister, both Margaret Thatcher and John Major put me in charge of by-elections, so they became a sort of hobby.
Yeah, you like them. What about UKIP? What about the Conservative? Before you go, let me just tell us how you see are the Conservatives going to break? And as you say, you should say they should break with Clegg. How do you see it unfolding? Because UKIP are coming up now very fast.
UKIP are a serious force, and the problem for the Conservatives is it's a force that isn't taking votes from Labour or Liberal. They are only taking votes, in the vast majority, in the 90%, they're only taking votes from Conservatives who feel strongly, either strongly anti-Europe or feel equally that they don't want the Bulgarians and the Romanians coming over the first day and swamping our hospitals and taking advantage of our social service. They've appealed, Nick Farage has appealed to them very cleverly indeed, and the Prime Minister will have to do something about it, because although they're 20% in the polls at the moment, actually if we look at the overall polls, they're 12, but it would actually be a disaster at the general election if they were 5, because they'll be taking 5% away from Conservative seats.
No, but they might. Could you see a coalition between UKIP and the Conservatives?
No. I don't think, funnily enough, I still don't think UKIP will get a seat in the House of Commons.
Really?
So, no, that will not happen. What I see is a coalition between Labour and Liberal, can keep the Conservatives out.
Well, that'd be very interesting. Well, look, it's very good to have you. The book is called Best Kept Secret. It's published by Macmillan. Another great runaway success. You're going back to Mallorca when?
I go back to Mallorca to start draft 4 of the next book, the 4th book in the series, because, of course, Best Kept Secret is the 3rd book in the series, the first one being Only Time Will Tell, followed by The Sins of the Father. And this one has just come out. Best Kept Secret has just come out.
So you're as active as ever, Jeffrey. Isn't that great? I think it's because of me. I think that the publicity I'm giving you out there. Of course, Jeffrey and myself go back a long, long time. We've had a lot of fun on the radio, and then of course I was delighted to have you on my TV show when I was over in London. So it's always great. Yeah, you're looking great, by the way. Do you mind me asking? What age are you, Jeffrey? If you don't mind me asking.
72. It's
different, isn't it? I mean, when you think of your parents at 40, they were old ones. At 72.
Yes, It's a new generation, isn't it? I'm sure the young still see us as old.
I don't think so.
But I don't think 70's old nowadays. No.
Look at Peter Stringfellow. He's 72 and he's married to Bella, who's 28, and she's lovely.
She's a sweetie.
Oh, absolutely lovely
like
person.
Her very much.
No, absolutely. Well, look, it's so lovely to have you on. Always lovely to have you on the show, and I must give a big shout to Alison, because your PA is absolutely the best you could ever imagine.
I agree with that.
Like you, she remembers
and my
names.
Remarkable wife, Dame Mary.
And of course, Mary. Well, Mary, so you and Mary are not in my favour, really, because at Christmas I sat outside your gate with my bowl, yet again.
I know you do.
This is my 25th.
Well, you're Irish.
No,
Irish.
My 25th Christmas without having shepherd's pie. And I look forward to that one day when I walk in and get my bowl filled with shepherd's pie. Anyway, my love to Mary, love to the all. How are the boys, by the way?
Very well, thank you. The whole family are well. We're all ticking away over here. The weather's not great, but it doesn't seem sound from you if it's any better over there.
Well, it's absolutely awful, Jeffrey. And when you get over to Mallorca, of course, the weather doesn't matter that much to you, I suppose, because you're inside writing. And you see, you can never be interrupted. This is what Alison says. You can never actually be interrupted. Not when you're writing, and this is very strict rules. But you have been interrupted twice, and that's by Mary. But it was good news. And one was good news, one was bad news. And when James got his 3 A's pluses, and the other one, of course, was the death of a friend. But anyway, send my love to everybody there, and thank you so much. And look forward to speaking again when you finish the next draft. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much indeed.
Bye-bye.